Mexican Coke is just so much better. Real sugar, everything's in Spanish. This beautiful retro bottle. It's just better, right? Right? It's just better. Actually, the reality is no. Something's going on with Mexican Coke, and I need to tell you about it. By the way, this video is sponsored by Squarespace, which I will tell you about at the end of the video.
Ice cold Coca-Cola.
A quality product made with the best of materials.
So we're here in our little cabin, which is actually an 1800s church. See the picture of Jesus right there that we've turned into an Airbnb that you can rent out if you want, but I'm here to talk about Coke. So let me sit here on this old church pew and tell you what I've learned about this Mexican Coke over the past few days of sitting here in isolation. Is this really Mexican Coke? I mean, it says Hecho en Mexico on it, so it's gotta be Mexican Coke, right?
Nothing else gives you the bracing sparkle and the bright little lift that's so delightfully yours in ice-cold Coca-Cola.
First off, let's talk about what Coca-Cola even is and why there's a difference between US Coke and Mexican Coke. I mean, Coca-Cola is like this giant international company that is known for having a secret recipe that they export to every corner of the globe. So why is there a difference between Coca-Colas? I mean, let's go straight to the source of all knowledge, Wikipedia, right? The drink's name refers to its original ingredients, coca leaves and cola nuts, a source of caffeine. Wait, what? Coca leaves? I know coca leaves, but only because I rode with a bunch of anti-narcotic police in a helicopter over coca fields in Colombia, busting people for cocaine production for an episode of Vox Borders. These are the people who are growing coca leaves. Yes, indeed, the original Coca-Cola recipe included coca leaves, which is the derivative that is used to make cocaine. But don't worry, your bottle of Coke doesn't include any coca leaves today, or maybe it does, or no one really knows because no one actually knows the recipe. This is not a conspiracy video about cocaine being in your Coke. I'm interested in another ingredient that is inside of this bottle, and it's the sweetener.
It's made out of sugar.
Sugar.
Sugar cane.
It's made with better ingredients.
Originally, all Coca-Cola was sweetened with the same thing, straight up sugar, or what it's chemically known as sucrose. But then, a few things happened in the United States that changed that. First, the US government got really aggressive about giving money to US farmers to keep them profitable. So they started pouring a lot of money into corn, subsidizing corn farmers in the United States. You can see this very clearly in our country. There are entire states that are basically one giant cornfield. So if you're a corn farmer in the 1980s, you have every incentive in the world to just produce loads of corn, as much as your soil can possibly eke out. Unsurprisingly, what this means is that you have a major surplus of corn. Loads of corn everywhere, way too much corn just spilling out of every corner of the United States. At the same time, the US is putting up trade barriers, basically tariffs, for sugar coming in from other countries. So sugar became expensive, corn became incredibly cheap. And so businesses like Coca-Cola did what businesses do, and they rejiggered everything to find the cheapest possible option. And this is when they turned to a newly invented sweetener that came from corn and tasted sweet like sugar, but was chemically very different. Sugar is sucrose, that's its kind of chemical name. This new corn sweetener was glucose and fructose, but it was still very sweet, but it came from cheap corn. And they started to use that to sweeten their Coca-Cola in the United States. Enter high fructose corn syrup.
Did
Did you know that corn, one of America's favorite foods, is used to make America's favorite syrup? A wholesome kind of sweetness that comes from corn.
Look what happened to high fructose corn syrup production in the United States versus sugar in the 80s and 90s. High fructose corn syrup became the obvious choice because it was way cheaper, and Coca-Cola started using it to sweeten their drinks. So this is how you get two different Coca-Colas. The United States producing Coke that is made with high fructose corn syrup, and the rest of the world, including Mexico, without any of these trade restrictions and corn subsidies, continuing to use cane sugar to sweeten their Coca-Cola. And then the taste wars begin.
Ooh, it's actually a lot better.
It's the sugar. Got a natural.
Syrupy.
Soon, Mexican Coke became a delicacy in the United States. It was only sent to places that had big Mexican populations or other immigrant populations that were used to this cane sugar Coke. And so it became rare and hard to find and obscure. Not surprisingly, hipsters like me got really into it. It was authentic, and it was the original recipe, and it was hard to find, and it was in this retro glass bottle. It felt like some commodity was being sent from the other side of the border in this kind of renegade way, and we were getting in on it. And it tastes so much better with that cane sugar.
Man, that stuff is so good.
It won't feel like corn syrup all over in my guts. Just have a much smoother, more delicious taste.
So much better. So much better. But wait, this is where it starts to get really weird. In 2010, a group of legit scientists get together to do a legitimate experiment for a legitimate science journal, and they want to test soft drinks, including Coca-Cola. They want to know what sorts of sweetener are being used for each and how much of that sweetener is in each of them. So they gather a bunch of soft drinks, including a Mexican Coca-Cola and an American Coca-Cola, and they do all of their testing. And what they find is that the Mexican Coca-Cola actually has no sucrose in it, meaning sugar. All they find in this is glucose and fructose, the elements that are used to build high fructose corn syrup. What? In the Mexican Coke that came from a Latino market in East LA, they found no sugar. They only found the elements for high fructose corn syrup. What is happening? This is supposed to be sugar. It says on the ingredients, sugar, but it tastes so much better. It's different. It tastes so much better, right? Better, right? It gets weirder. In 2013, Mexican lawmakers became very concerned with the obesity rate in Mexico, which is considered by public health officials as, quote, the fattest country in the world. Not my words, theirs. Mexico has a big obesity problem, and one of the links to that is the massive amount of sugar that is consumed. Mexican legislators slapped on a tax for soda. All soda was going to be subject to a tax, which made it more expensive to produce, which sent Coca-Cola looking for cheaper options to bottle their Coke, and cheaper options equal high fructose corn syrup. As of 2013, okay, we're talking like 7 years ago, more and more bottlers of Coca-Cola in Mexico, serving Mexican markets, are using high fructose corn syrup to sweeten their Coca-Cola and selling it in Mexico. So now even legitimate Mexican Coke is not even Mexican Coke anymore. It's identical to the high fructose corn syrup stuff you buy here. One of the main bottlers came out and said, don't worry, we're going to continue to send cane sugar Coke to the United States because we know that people really like it in the United States, and we'll continue to send it because it's good business for us to keep making it with cane sugar. But I don't even believe that guy because of that study. Remember the study that said no sucrose, only glucose and fructose, i.e. high fructose corn syrup? I don't believe you, Mexican bottler. I don't believe that you're sending us cane sugar Coca-Cola anymore. Not surprisingly, Coca-Cola has caught on to this idea that people like me love Mexican Coke, and they've totally leaned into it. They've created this gimmicky branding that's like, Hecho en Mexico. Here it is. Here is the offending product. Bought it at Target. It's just sitting here being so tokenizing of Mexican aesthetic and culture. Okay, back to it. authentic, original flavors. And they've really leaned into it because they know that there's a cult following of people like me who will pay more money. Okay, so I've been social distancing out here in this cabin in the woods for like 2 weeks. I've been reading way too much about the Coca-Cola bottling industry, and it has completely shattered my identity as a Mexican Coke drinker. One, because there's probably not even sugar in this, and two, because Mexicans don't even drink Mexican Coke anymore. They drink high fructose corn syrup. Cool. I guess there is still one reason why I would drink Mexican Coke, because it still comes in this cool retro glass bottle that makes me feel really cool about myself. And that is why I will continue to drink it. Thank you.
Cheers to y'all.
And now let me sit by my wood-burning stove and tell you about Squarespace. It is a website builder, but it's more than a website builder, I'm discovering as I build my own website. It is a giant ecosystem of tools that you can use to do a lot of things on the internet. From blogging tools to email marketing tools to support and back and forth communication tools to just building a beautiful website. Squarespace has a huge suite of tools and features that will allow you to kind of do whatever you need to do on the internet. It integrates very nicely with all sorts of social platforms, as well as, like I said, email marketing campaigns, which is really important stuff for a business. So you should go check this out. Head to squarespace.com/JohnnyHarris for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, you'll get 10% off your website or domain service so that you can try this out and see if it fits your business. Squarespace is really good at this. They have amazing support. They've got lots of tools, lots of features. I'm excited to continue to learn more about all of these features as I dig in and create my own site with them. Thank you, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video. And thank you all for watching about Mexican Coke, or should we just say Coca-Cola? Because it's not Mexican Coke. Mexican Coke is a lie.